Right. Have we hit the record button yet? Okay, we're on. Welcome to the class, everyone. I'm Sonya Thompson. So excited to welcome you here, and so excited that we get to learn together. And we're going to be talking about autoimmune, oils, and autoimmune, how to support your body. And I thought before I turn it over to my beautiful friend Samantha, I'm so excited for you to get to hear from her tonight. I wanted to just cover a little bit of an overview. What in the world? We hear this all the time: autoimmune, autoimmune, autoimmune. What in the world even is it? And autoimmune, if you have an autoimmunity and you're diagnosed with that, that means that present in your blood work will be antibodies present that are a certain kind of cell. Lymphocytes is the one of the terms. They are actually directed at the normal cells. So for someone like me, having dealt with Hashimoto thyroid disease, that means that in the blood work, there are these antibodies that are present that are attacking the normal cells of the thyroid. And so this happens for so many varied reasons. As a matter of fact, even the best scientific journals and all the medical research, the underlying reason that this happens is still really unknown. There's a lot of guesses around why. Stress, viruses, bacteria in the body, a depleted immune system, deficiency. And Samantha's going to cover some of that tonight, but I thought we would at least talk about the fact this is not an illness of exclusion. And what that means is they don't put a label on you of an autoimmune disease without having actual blood work to say that that's present. And so that might help you if you think that something is going on in your own body. You can actually ask for tests of that nature, and that's going to be helpful for you. Now, if you find yourself in that position, like Samantha and I found ourselves there, it can be scary, right? Because the prevailing mindset is that your body is confused and it's against you. When in reality, there's a lot of schools of thought around the fact that your body's trying to right itself. It's trying to recover. It's trying to heal. We just need to ask a few questions about toxicity and deficiency, get those stresses down, and learn how to think, so our body can heal, because there's a whole dynamic, even emotional dynamic there. So I'm going to introduce you to Samantha. I'm so excited that you get to meet her tonight. Samantha is a teacher by trade. She is a work-at-home mom, entrepreneur, and she's an author. I don't know if you knew this. Samantha is an author. Samantha, you're going to have to tell us a little bit about that. But she has had an autoimmune diagnosis since she was 6 years old. And it is her story is just unreal, and she's going to share that tonight. But she's also found some great successes with holistic measures, and I'm so excited to hear about that. I'm celebrating with you. Take it away, Samantha.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Sonia. Can everybody hear me and see me all right? My internet connection is sometimes spotty, so we're good? Thumbs up? Okay, perfect. All right. So yes, I am an author. That's why you're all here. No, I'm just kidding. I am in the process of finishing up a children's book, and I just recently published an essay that my grandmother wrote, and I was able to write the introduction for that. So that was pretty cool. And then I'm just trying to figure everything else out with the children's book, and that will be out soon. But that is not why we're here. So I'm just going to get right into it. My name is Sam, and some of you might have already heard my story, but I like to keep telling it anyway, because I find that there are certain parts that I glaze over because they're not so pleasant. And I was reflecting on my story today and how I wanted to present it. And I have, like, a whole little thing here, but I also want it to be, a flow of really just like my journey from when I was 6 years old to now. But it won't take all night, don't worry. So, so anyway, I was diagnosed with psoriasis when I was 6 years old. And that was in 1991. And then at 6 years old in 1991, there's not much treatment options for somebody with psoriasis. So I just began the journey with my mom of learning about psoriasis, which again, there wasn't much out there for us except going to a dermatologist. And then the dermatologist prescribed so many topical medications throughout my elementary school, middle school, and high school life. And in tandem with the topical medications, I also had to do UV therapy treatments. And that's like going into a light booth twice a week. And if anybody with psoriasis is watching, you know what this is. So it's basically going to like a UV therapy booth twice a week. I was doing this, schlepping to doctor's offices several times a week because I also had severe allergies and migraines growing up, and just a slew of other symptoms that go along with autoimmune disease. And as I was being prescribed these topical steroids, really that's what they were, because that's what they were. That's all that was available to me at the time, or so we thought. I was having to also wrap my legs and arms and everywhere that was affected in saran wrap too, after I put on the topical medication. So like I would have to go to sleep in it or just spend time in it. And it just, you're walking around like that or sleeping like that. And it's just not really a quality of life to have to do this intermittently in elementary school, middle school, high school, and some in college too. So anyway, it was a rough go from the time I was 6 years old. And then by the time I was 19 years old, I was then diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis, which is common for people that have psoriasis. So that was a whole nother adjustment period for me. And then, even prior to being diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis, the emotional toll that it takes on any person when you are diagnosed with a chronic illness, it just kind of dictates your life for a while, because you're figuring out how to live with it. And then we feel like we're beholden to conventional Western medication because this is where we live, and that's how it was for me back then in the 90s. And yeah, anyway, it was a bad, it wasn't, it was something that was always like a sad undertone, really, as I was growing up. And I know, again, those of you suffering with similar things can definitely understand that. But anyway, so going back to when I was 19, I was diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis. And then this is when the heavy duty medications were starting to be prescribed to me. So then I was prescribed the injections and really heavy duty pills. Like one is called methotrexate and cyclosporine. And methotrexate is like a killer on your liver, especially if you're not taking care of yourself. Now, I was 19 and I was in college, and I wasn't taking care of myself. So, when you're in college, people are drinking and not eating healthy. And I was just wanting to fit in while being on all these medications, while having these diagnoses. And I just wanted to live that exciting, fast-paced life instead of taking these red spots and joint pain and all the other things. I was also diagnosed with hyperthyroid stuff at the time too. It was just my whole body was just really reacting to something. So they were prescribing me the medication, and I was still carrying on my normal life, or a normal college life, not keeping up with blood tests that you're supposed to keep up with when you are prescribed heavy duty medication when you have an autoimmune issue or any issue. So I wasn't keeping up with that because I was just having a good time, and all the while not knowing that my body was starting to suffer from it, and not paying attention to the warning signs of the red spots. Like I was just mentioning, like the red spots are red flags. What are they trying to tell me? And instead I was just trying to cover it up and carry on like I was just like everybody else, when I wasn't. My body was trying to tell me something. And it's, when you have an autoimmune issue, you realize your body is highly sensitive. So trying to numb that out, trying to just mask the symptoms wasn't working for me, so much so that me not paying attention to these warning signs and carrying on my life and not being a good patient and not taking the blood tests seriously, I actually wound up with organ failure. And it's really slow at first, organ failure. You don't know that you're going through it. This is what the doctors explained to me. It might be different for everybody, but for the liver in particular, it was my liver, my spleen, and my pancreas that were really heavily impacted from 2 drugs in particular, plus the unhealthy lifestyle. Okay, I'm losing my train of thought. Sorry, I'm going to go back to this. It gets a little overwhelming explaining such a complex thing, especially with the liver failure, and knowing that there was a part of me that felt like I put myself there by not paying attention to my body and not wanting to take care of it and wanting to be normal and wanting to party. So when I get into the liver failure part and I'm explaining it to people, that's the part I kind of glaze over, because it's like, how can you not know that your body's failing you that much, you know? And I didn't until it was too late. And then I was rushed to the hospital because it's very slow at first and then it becomes acute. And I went into acute organ failure, and I was rushed to a very, very great hospital near us, and they yanked me off all the medication. And then I started to get better, but they still kept me on the liver transplant list because they weren't sure, you know, if I would continue to get better. So I started to get better. I kept getting better because they really just took me off all the medication, and I had to spend about a month in the hospital. And I was just in heavy duty monitoring mode, and they just wanted to make sure that I could actually hang on to my own liver. Long story short, I was able to. I didn't need to get a liver transplant because once they yanked me off all the medication, and after that month of being in the hospital, it took me about a year with my mental health to now live with a diagnosis of liver disease, autoimmune disease. You know, I have migraines and stuff. And then now, even with having the autoimmune stuff, it makes you anxious because you're symptom checking, you know? So now, and now I have, like, you know, even more anxiety and a little bit of depression. And because I have liver disease, I can't address any of that stuff with conventional medication because everything goes through your liver. So I leave the hospital and I have it take about a year to get myself together. And I really, really have to think about how am I going to progress forward without being able to treat it in a conventional Western way, in a way that, and doctors would say to me too, because I was still going to doctors and they were like, well, we don't really know what to prescribe you. We don't really know what to do. I was covered with psoriasis, so 90% of my body, my joints were hurting, and they're like, we don't know what to do for you. So I decided to start, actually, I decided to start running before I tried yoga, and I was never a runner. I didn't like it. It was awful. So that didn't work out. But then I got into yoga. We lived across the street from a gym, and I just was like, you know what? I'm going to try a class. So I tried yoga, and as soon as I tried that, everything just, maybe because it was the only thing I had, and I have no idea really what it was. It felt like divine intervention, but I couldn't stop going to yoga after that. It just felt like something was realigning within me, and then my skin started to heal a little bit. My joints started to get a little bit, you know, alleviated with the joint pain, because that's what yoga does. And you can measure that. You can measure those anti-inflammatory or those inflammatory markers that Sonya was just talking about. You can actually measure that. If you practice yoga and you are, you know, you practice meditation and things like that, you can be, you can have a blood test before and a blood test after. And it's actually scientifically proven that these things now help reduce inflammation. So that's pretty cool. I didn't want to forget to mention that. But yeah, so yoga was working its magic, and I was like on this great healing path, and my skin wasn't completely healing, but that wasn't the point anymore. I realized what I needed to do was stop treating myself like I was everybody else. That's what got me into trouble. That's why I kept drinking with my college friends. That's why I kept eating like crap. That because everybody else was doing it. But you know what? My body was trying to tell me, no, you can't do those things. So, so I'm getting a little ahead of myself again. Anyway, so I realized, since I'm not going to be in a treatment program or treatment, you know, with the conventional medication like everybody else, yoga was doing it for me, but what else can I do now? And I realized that there was a sister science to yoga called Ayurveda. So I looked into that, and that's all about the intake of like the way you eat and how it's, you know, you can tailor it really for your actual makeup, which was really interesting and helpful. And then that started to help more. And then I got into acupuncture, and that started to help more. And then I just got into other types of spiritual counseling, and that started to help a little more. But it did feel like there was something missing. But I didn't want to pay attention to that missing part just yet, because it just is a lot when you're on a healing journey. You know, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not linear. It sounds like I just was able to pick myself up and be on my merry way after that year, and I found yoga and everything was great, but it wasn't. It was like a lot of ups and downs. So with all of those holistic modalities, and I'm feeling like, I'm on a good path, even with those ups and downs. I have a really good friend from college, and she decides to introduce me to Gina, who some of you on this call may know. She's an incredible woman, and she was really patient with me. She was really patient in the way that she was trying to deliver the education that Young Living as a brand has to offer. I didn't think much about the toxins in my environment and how that could actually be impacting me even more, because I was like, well, everybody has toxins. Everybody, this is just the world we live in. And then I go back to, oh, wait, but you can't behave and do the things that everybody's doing. So why don't you look at this a little closer? Because your body is continuing to tell you something. These red spots are continuing to be your red flags. So Gina was very patient. It took me like over a year to really even take it seriously. And then I started to look into, sorry, Gina, but she knows. I started to look into what it meant to like ditch and switch, and the chemical body burden that you can actually look up in Google, the chemical body burden that all of our bodies undergo just from living in this world of like just heavily inundated products that have terrible things in them. Just things that we put in, on, and around our bodies and our homes since we were young, since we were babies. And I think it's for a lack of knowing. We just didn't know, but now we're in the age of information and we can learn these things. And Gina was helpful and she educated me. And I realized that maybe I needed to look into the chemical body burden stuff. And she was also trying to teach me about essential oils. And I was like, whatever, that's not really anything I care about right now. I have yoga, I'm fine. But I was really interested in like the non-toxic stuff. So I decided to get the Thieves Starter Kit. And with the Thieves Starter Kit, it's just, you can do a whole overhaul on all of the cleaning supplies in your home. Not just the cleaning supplies, it comes with like hand soap, toothpaste, hand sanitizer, mouthwash, and just a bunch of things that you can just ditch and switch in your whole home. And I did that, and not really expecting much, not really knowing, but just feeling better and more empowered about my decision. And then, wouldn't you know it, literally after a few weeks of using this stuff in the house, I was like, it's almost like when you have autoimmune stuff, you don't realize that you're feeling better until you're like, wait, where'd that pain go? Like, it's not like you're like always thinking about it until you're like, wait, where'd that go? So then with the chemicals being alleviated in our environment, that started to happen more and more. Plus, that one Thieves Starter Kit came with a nutmeg essential oil. And I kind of put it away because I was like, whatever, I don't care about the essential oils. But then as I started to feel better with the Thieves stuff all around, I was like, what is this? And I started to smell it. I started to play with it. And I was like, wow, this like makes me feel good, like even just smelling it. And then I looked up the benefits, and I remember vaguely when I signed up that they said this, nutmeg is a liver supporting oil. So that was really serendipitous and divine too, that was part of like my initiation into all of it. And then because I didn't have a diffuser to diffuse the nutmeg or the Thieves oil that it came with, I was like, I think I like these oils. I think I need to diffuse them. So then I just decided to just go for it, and I got the premium starter kit. Because the other thing to consider too is like when you have autoimmune issues or any chronic health issues, which a lot of us do, you're spending money per month. I mean, I had a nice conversation with Sonya, even way before I ever like looked into Young Living myself too. Gina connected me with her. And you had said, Sonya, you were like, you just try things. It's just something else to try. And it's really that simple. We think it's not. I don't know. We get up in arms because we might not want to learn more. I'm not sure what that's about. I'm part of it. I'm guilty. We're just skeptics, I guess. But I just decided to try it. So I was like, whatever, I'm just going to try the premium starter kit. And then now I'm like, did I want the premium starter kit first? Because that's how much I love like all of the oils that came in it. There's 12 oils, and they have just like completely changed from top to bottom any checklist that you could have as far as the first aid, a reasonable one, not like something that really requires, like a broken arm, go to the hospital type of thing. But they really just can address so many concerns. And I kind of underestimated that. I thought it was just like a smell good thing. And then I started to research the benefits on PubMed, which is like Google for scholarly articles and scientific journal stuff. So I started to research more, and there's so many proven benefits to them. And I'm like, why wouldn't doctors just talk about this? Why wouldn't they talk about it if it's proven? I didn't understand it because I'm physically starting to feel better in such a short amount of time in my whole life that, I'm the one in control of how I'm addressing these concerns too, because within that premium starter kit, there's this one oil called Panaway. And then there's peppermint. And peppermint, I sniffed it and literally a headache went away. That's the truth. It happened. And then Panaway you put on and like your muscles start to feel better and it calms your nervous system. And Raven does the same thing when you apply it to your chest. Like all of these things, I'm like, all this information's out there and it's just at your fingertips. I wish I had known it sooner, but I guess I wouldn't have acquired all that other knowledge until then, or maybe it wouldn't have resonated as much. But anyway, it was just a beautiful eye-opening experience with the premium starter kit, and all those oils in there. And then really the tipping point for me and my healing, I have to say, is when I started to share the benefits of it and connecting with community and hearing other people's stories that were similar to mine. And then also accessing more and more information that Google might not offer, like you can be a part of these awesome Facebook groups that we have here. And there's just so much information to know and so much support. And I have been doing this alone my whole life until literally last year. It was last year. So I've been doing this alone. My friends and family didn't understand the complete comprehensive magnitude of my daily struggles because I just learned to live with it and mask it and try to live like everybody else. And then once I started sharing, I started to feel even more like even better. And even like because then you also are like, well, what if I have a flare? That's where community comes in. And it's like, okay, then I might. And then you have community to lean on and you're not alone. And that's healing, Or if you have a flare, then you go to your oils, you go to your environment and you see, what can I tweak? What can I do to help this, to help that might be hurting in a way. And if I treat it, it's not going to hurt me, So that empowerment is huge. And then because I was already now so excited about just what Young Living had to offer as a brand for not just me, but my family, I just started to research other things, like other products that they have. And one oil kept coming up and it was Copaiba. Holy moly. If anybody here that has any inflammation, any autoimmune stuff, any chronic anything, Copaiba, there is just, it was almost, I don't want to say immediate because it might not work like that for everybody else, but it felt immediate for me. At the height of COVID, I was washing my hands all the time and I started to get flares right here of psoriasis. And I have not gotten psoriasis on my hands in over a decade. So because of the stress of COVID and I'm sure the washing of the hands, it just started to creep up. And I just got nervous. And this was my first flare since I went non-toxic and all this stuff. And I was like, oh no, this isn't working. And I was like, oh wait, this is my chance to see if it'll work. So I got the Copaiba and I started to use it topically. And then I diffuse it at the same time. And this is another thing to keep in mind too, when you're using something for a medicinal purpose or therapeutic purpose like that, not just for aroma. When you use it topically and you use it in the diffuser, and you can also ingest Copaiba, just using more than one delivery system amplifies the effects of it tremendously. So I think that had a lot to do with it. So I diffuse Copaiba. I'll get a little flare of stuff here and there or feel like achy. I diffuse Copaiba. I put it on, you can put it in a little pill. You can put it under your tongue and then a couple days, maybe not even, it just starts to alleviate for me. It really does. And I don't have anything on my hands. I have it documented on my social media, how long it took or how short it took really for it to clear up. And it's the truth, I'm telling my mom, I'm telling my sisters, I'm telling my family and friends, we're not going to lie about this stuff. This is amazing. It's amazing. And then it makes me go back to, but doctor, why didn't you tell me about this? But anyway, so Copaiba was super helpful for me. And then I started to look at the laundry soap too, because when you have psoriasis and there's points of contact that are constantly rubbing, like this right here, I noticed that was when my hand was flaring, that it was also right here, where my sleeves were. And some people who have psoriasis or eczema understand this as well. So it's just that friction point can get a flare. So I changed my laundry soap to the Thieves one, and that alleviated too. So there's just so many different things that I just started to research, and I just realized that there were so many more options for me. Not only that, but then also because of the community and the education, I was able to learn about the connection between your gut and your skin. And then I didn't even realize that Young Living has supplements. Didn't even think about it again. I didn't care about the essential oils. I don't care about that. Just wanted the non-toxic. But then I was like, oh, a probiotic. And my doctor actually said, get a good probiotic. So I was like, oh, I think that, this brand that I love has one. So I'll try it. This probiotic is incredible. And then I look up after I just experienced it for myself, because I didn't expect it to, I don't know, I just didn't expect it. You don't expect it after a lifetime of stuff. But then I started to look it up in our groups and other things, and lo and behold, there's somebody here who gave it to their son, is this probiotic called Life 9, and his eczema or psoriasis, whatever he was dealing with on his skin, cleared up. I mean, it's just your gut and your skin is directly related. So that's huge. And then there was and then Ningxia Red is another thing that again, supplements. I'm not like, I wasn't ever one to drink green drinks every day, or anything like that, or again with the supplements. But then Ningxia Red is this juice. It's like made from the Ningxia wolfberry in China, and it has the highest antioxidant count in the world. And all you need to do is just drink a little bit each day. And that's the other best part about all of this. And I think that this is why it works too, for me anyway, and I can only speak about myself, is because all of this stuff that I'm saying right now, I don't have to take time out of my day to do it. And that's the same thing that I learned with yoga. Like, it's not about what you do on the mat for the hour. It's not about what you do in this concentrated amount of time. It's what you are able to integrate throughout your daily life. So again, going back to the yoga, if you're sitting in a way that's not good, or whatever, you're sitting there. So how can I sit in a way that's better for my posture? If you do that and you tune in with your body, you're doing yoga. That counts. I'm a certified yoga teacher now, so I can tell you that counts. But it's the same thing with the Young Living stuff. So Ningxia Red, it's a drink. I'm going to drink something in my day. I drink water, I drink liquids. I go to the fridge, I pour it. But that's all I have to do. It's like a no-brainer, So, and again, with like the thieves stuff, when you ditch and switch and you are lessening that chemical body burden, you're going to use hand soap. I have the Thieves hand soap. I'm going to use hand soap anyway. I'm going to use shampoo and conditioner. It might as well be non-toxic. I'm going to do all these things anyway. They might as well serve me and help me, and not make those little red flags pop up all over my body. So yeah, that's like, I could go on and on about the products. I feel like I should look at some of the comments or see if there's any questions first, because I don't want to just keep rambling, and I feel like I'm going all over. And if there's any questions, maybe here, let's see.
This has been so good, Samantha. I'm keeping an eye on the comments, but I did want to mention that if you do have a question for her, we wanted to give time for that, and I didn't mention that earlier. But one of the things that's really just screaming out at me as I'm listening to you talk is how relatable this is for every single person who's dealt with any health hurdle, that skepticism, but then also the aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the fact that it's something that you're integrating all day long. The things that you were doing, you're just switching out to something that's really, really empowering your body and your immune system. And you mentioned, I had a question for you, so I think I will start since I'm, talking. You mentioned Copaiba and Ningxia, the Life 9. Do you also find, I had it in my note. Oh, do you think people with these kind of issues deal with sleep issues more often? Have you had trouble with sleep, and has that been something that has been on the radar for you, or no?
That's such a great question. And sleep is huge. When I was at the height of my health crisis, I wasn't sleeping well at all. So I definitely think it contributes to any type of issue that you're dealing with. But when you also have psoriasis, your skin hurts. I was waking up with bloody sheets, with just I went through so many, just so many bedding things. So your sleep is heavily impacted, big time. And so using those things, and like the copaiba, the essential oils, all essential oils are going to calm your nervous system. I mean, that's the function, right? I think no matter what system we're talking about, it will help your nervous system no matter what, because you are you're smelling it's just, that's the way they work. So when you're calm in your nervous system, it helps with your sleep, you know.
I love that.
And yeah, that answers your question, right?
It does. And I
Yeah.
was reading somewhere there was a study, somebody had done a study. I don't know if it was scientific or just her personal, but she was wearing a Fitbit, and there's something that they can monitor about sleep. And she was having like 12 to 18% of a certain state of sleep. And then after using essential oils every single night, that started to change
Hmm.
to 18 to 22, 18 to 26%. And
Hmm.
it was just like, even obviously there's going to be scientific things that are going to emerge more and more about these holistic modalities and plant power and etc. But what's even more powerful than all that is just the way we feel. And for you, the psoriasis and the psoriatic arthritis and liver, do you use the Juva line as well?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
Before I forget though, I wanted to mention something really important. Like I'm speaking, I do have autoimmune issues, and I'm speaking on behalf of that and chronic illness and anything along those lines, but really any person in the world can get an autoimmune response. It doesn't matter who you are, if there's a history of it or anything. You can suffer an autoimmune response. You can get a diagnosis of an autoimmune disease at any point in your life, especially, and there's some science behind this as well. Anybody that endures a traumatic event in their life, which who doesn't, it there's science behind this. It will exponentially increase your chances of being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, especially things like PTSD and stuff like that. It just really puts that up there because of the chemical change it makes in your body, and we all know how traumatic events can affect us like that. So having this knowledge and having these options and awareness of other ways other than conventional and Western medication is just so important for everybody, not just me, not just Sonya, not just the people that have issues that are diagnosed right now. It can happen to anybody. So I just wanted to mention that, that it's just important to keep in mind. We're not immune to autoimmune.
That
I
is
thought
so
I'd
good, because and even if we haven't specifically had that situation, the numbers are telling us, I don't know what the statistics are specifically, but it is so much more common right now. I think the toxic burden on the body, coupled with maybe even, and somebody mentioned the diet, wondering about diet. And I'll speak to it really quickly, and then I want to pass it to you, Samantha. But when I started to research and read about viruses and bacteria having a heyday in a body that system is overactive on the immune front, or it's kind of like the body becomes a breeding ground for the wrong kind of proliferation, right? and
Mhm.
and so the stressors of life can add to that. And almost everyone who has had autoimmune issues, even ever, but specifically previously diagnosed, a stressful situation is a trigger.
Mhm.
And then that puts you in a state of, um like the viruses that have been dormant can arise again. The bacteria, for me, the Lyme, those kind of things start to rear their head again, almost like overproduction or ability to proliferate in the wrong way. And so I ditched all animal products. And a lot of people, I think you've mentioned it too, Samantha. You're trying things. You're not, the doctors don't have the exact formula for you, but there is a formula for you. It's just
Absolutely. Yeah.
right. It's trial and error, and that inner knowing guidance of not being afraid to try, and not being afraid to say, maybe this could. I mean, just a little sliver of that can go so far. So ditching animal products because animal products feed viruses was a right thing for me, obviously, just because of the way I felt. But it might not be the right thing for every person. But I just thought, wow, it's so cool that we can figure out our bodies. You talked about those red flags. We all know what those are in our body. So
Right.
what have you found on the eating front? What has fueled you?
So I love what you said, because it really is a framework. Like, we all have our own triggers, and it's like autoimmune issues. It's like it's a fingerprint. It's so unique for you, and therefore the treatment's going to be so unique for you. And it is always going to be those subtle modalities of your intake, like what do you eat, what's in your environment, things like that. So the diet that I have found that has worked for me is going to an Ayurvedic practitioner, and what they do is they diagnose. They look at your pulse, they look at your tongue, and they're able to identify something called your dosha. There's three doshas. I'm not going to get into all this right now, but they're able to identify what dosha you are. Typically, you have two predominant ones, and they're able to see what's out of balance. And then from there, they prescribe to you a daily practice of how to eat, not just what to eat, but how to eat. Like, have this type of food between the hours of 10 and 1, depending on your own makeup and what they find. So I like what you said about it works for you because you feel better with that, because that probably might have something to do with your dosha, versus somebody else might have something that works for them in that way. But Ayurveda stresses very heavily, and it's very simple. The overarching idea is local and seasonal. And it makes sense if you think about any animal, right? Like, they're going to eat what's around them, what's natural in their environment, and they're going to eat it when it's in season, and therefore it will be the best possible thing for them to eat at that time, and they're not going to have a response. When we're eating different things that are out of season and not local to us, we could have an autoimmune, we can have a response to that, and our body could react. So I have found Ayurveda to be that for me, because it literally is like it's so different for each person, and it honors your own makeup, which I like.
Oh, this is a new thing for me. I've not heard about this. And do you spell that DOSHA?
Yep. DOSHA, dosha.
Okay. I was like going off like how it sounded. I was like, okay, I'm going to look that up because I'm always down to learn more about that. And okay, let's see if there's any other questions. So food, how long has that been? How long has that been? How long since you began the dosha? Is that something that you do like every 6 months, go get checked, or do you shift and change?
Your dosha really remains what it is. That's like who you are. When you're a baby, you're one dosha. Like, all babies are the same dosha. It's called kapha. They're just like, of the earth babies. This is like more spiritual too. So I know this might not resonate with some people, but and yeah, baby, you're all one type. We're all one type when we're babies, and then we come into our own. And our dosha is our dosha. They can get out of balance. And then, a practitioner might be able to see, whoa, this one's like really heavy here. And then that can change, but the predominance of one can change, but they're always what they are.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Super cool. I can't wait to learn more about this.
I wanted to mention too, though, before I forget, that I don't ever knock conventional treatments. They're just not an option for me. I have made so many amazing connections in the autoimmune and psoriasis community, and people are like, I don't want to take methotrexate because of your story. I'm like, I'm not telling you not to. I'm just telling you what happened with me. And it's not to say that you can't do both. And I think, like, even when you go to therapy, or if you're prescribed a medication for a mental health issue, you're supposed to have a double-pronged approach, meaning here's the drug and then here's your therapy, right? So it's no different for anything else that you're addressing. You might still need a conventional medication, but here's other therapies that can help scaffold your support along the way, so that when this goes away, you have all these, because you can't be on this one.
Yeah. I'm over here like screaming and just like, because this is exactly the conversation that I feel would have benefited both of us and probably everybody in this room right now. If we knew that things could be coming together that we had in our mind as separate. Mm-hmm. That's the reason I said no for so long on trying the supplements from Young Living, is just because I don't know if you do. I'm already on medication. And that's supposed to be doing what it's supposed to be doing. Never did I just stop and ask, am I living at my fullest potential in my very best life? If I could have started with that, then the answer would have been no, then I should still be looking.
Right.
Right. So exactly. I love, they can go together.
They
I love
can, and
that.
they should. It shouldn't just be one, it shouldn't just ever be just a pill. You know, like I just, that's not health. That's not, we know that our well-being, at the very least, I can remember a graphic from elementary school or middle school where it's like that triangle, you know, your physical, mental,
Yep.
emotional, whatever. You can throw spiritual in there, make it a square, but you know, you get the gist. It shouldn't be one pronged. It should always be multi-pronged. And
Right.
those prongs can be ever changing, and they should be, because we do, you
Yeah.
know.
And
I
even in
think that also
healing.
having, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was right on top of you, but I'm thinking that we're probably in the same vein. The way that you've talked about all of these different components coming together is exactly the story that I hear over and over and over. And we're looking for this one thing, when in actuality it's in all the little things that make the picture. Is that those puzzle pieces? And so being open to, okay, instead of grabbing that drink, I'm going to grab this Ningxia. Instead of lighting this candle, I'm going to start this diffuser. Those things are the little pieces that come together. Is that what were you going to say something like that?
Exactly, exactly. Well, I think so. But it is, and it should, we call it, and when I was doing my yoga teacher certification, it's subtle body. Like you're working in your subtle body when you're healing, because that's what informs your physical body. Like energy comes first. It's just that science. Energy comes first, and then things penetrate to the physical field. So when you start to address the subtle body, the physical will be informed from that. The subtle body is addressed through aroma. That's your smell, you know, nice sights, yoga, things like that. And then the essential oils working on the cellular, molecular level, like it's subtle. And, you know, what's the expression? The devil's in the details or something like that.
Yes.
But I don't want to say devil because it's not, you know, it's very healing and amazing and light filled,
Right.
these details.
The light
But
is in the details too.
yeah, exactly. It is the subtle things. And I think that there's so many subtle choices we make throughout a day. So in one way you can think of it, wow, that's overwhelming. I make so many choices. How am I going to do that? Or you can think of it as like, wow, I make so many little choices. I can easily change one or two,
Mm,
you
Brilliant.
know? So
Brilliantly said.
yeah, yeah,
That
it depends on how you think of it, you know. But that multi-pronged approach is really, I'm happy that I finally got on board and that Gina was so patient, because I had the yoga, I had the Ayurveda, I had the acupuncture, and I was like, no, I'm fine. And she was like, no, you need this, not me, but you know, this can help you too.
yes. Gina for president. Gina for president.
Write her in tomorrow.
Yes, write her name in. Oh, Gina, I'm sure she's here somewhere. But I've lost track of all the people here. But oh, so good. Okay, I wanted to make sure there's no other questions. We're about ready to wrap up.
Mm.
Let's see. Yes, all things working together for our good. Yes, Jeanette, I recently heard and have adopted this beautiful quote: "The whole world is conspiring on our behalf," and believing that for us in our health has been life changing to me. So I'm with you there.
There was another supplement that I just got that I wanted to mention also. One is, it's called Super Cal, and it's a mixture of vitamin D, vitamin K, and calcium. Vitamin K is really, really great for your liver, liver support, liver rejuvenation. There's a lot of literature that I literally just learned about with vitamin K and your liver support. So that's been really interesting. And the great thing about Young Living's supplements is that because they're infused with essential oils and they're from bioavailable sources, it makes them, I think it's like something like 80% greater that they absorb. The absorption rate is 80% greater than the, what is it, like 24% at best with the other ones that are over the counter. So
Right.
that's why that probiotic, I was like, whoa, this probiotic, I literally can see and feel a difference with it. And I want to also mention it.
That's right.
Oh, sorry. Uh-oh, it cut out. Can you see me? Is that good? Okay.
Oh yeah, you cut out for me too for a second, but yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention too, I don't want it to see, like, I know we want that fast fix and we want that Western approach and we're used to that. And I feel like I'm making it, I don't want to make it seem like it's just like this, like,
Yeah.
it's all the subtle things that can make that miraculous thing, but it's also a consistent effort, and it is the ups and downs. And I do get flares here and there, but I have the tools, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to make mention of
I'm
that.
with you there. I've told my husband and I, I've had these anaphylactic in the past, and now if I have a reaction, it hasn't been as severe. even though I've had a reaction. And I have come to learn to be grateful the less severe, and in thinking in that, as in that process, that my body is healing. My body is healing. This is, I can't put all of my energy into never having a problem.
Right.
It's just not going to serve us.
Right.
But if we can, like, in flow and ease, just say, okay, our bodies are created to heal. There's this is trying, it's trying to get back to homeostasis and righting itself. That is a different posture to come into the trial, so to speak. At least that's helped me. I don't know if it'll help anybody else, but, and also there's another question for you, Samantha. Do you put anything else on topically on your red spots, or just copaiba?
Oh, I'm so glad that they asked, Jessica. Yes, I do. I use frankincense. I use lavender topically. I use, for the spots, oh, cedar wood. It's
Mm,
really like the tree oils I find when I use them topically, they just, oh, and tea tree oil. And actually, purification, I just learned, is also another skin supporting oil. So there's several out there. And the frankincense, copaiba, and cedarwood are the ones that I really use interchangeably. Copaiba for sure. Like I always need a couple bottles in my house. But yeah, those other two marry nicely with it. And copaiba is a magnifier or a driver oil. So whatever oil you use with it, it will amplify those effects too. And again, always use the multi-delivery system, not just a topical, but diffuse it. And if it's an ingestible one and you're comfortable with that, do that. Because I think that just, or I know it makes it more effective.
oh my goodness, that is brilliant and beautiful. And I'm actually writing down, but I'm just thinking maybe you could share with me your list, and I'll
Yeah.
make a few graphics to share after the class.
Mhm.
And Mariah's wondering if you dilute it, and if you do with what?
No, it's just straight.
Just
Copaiba is the
okay,
most gentlest oil. Frankincense is neat. Cedarwood is neat. But
okay.
copaiba is also what people use on babies' teeth and gums straight. So it is just, and it doesn't even, like, it has such a subtle smell. It's like very woodsy and nice, but it's almost undetectable.
Love that.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, I know that we probably could keep going. So when this gets posted, we'll have it in YouTube, and as well as our education groups. So I'm just going to offer your services, Samantha, to go back to those and answer questions that they might have
Of
underneath
course,
them.
absolutely. I wanted to
Um,
say one thing before we sign off that
Thank you.
I just want to say and it's something that I realized in my yoga teacher training because I was able to do a whole paper on inflammation and yoga and all these things. And I just realized that having an autoimmune disease and a chronic illness really is a blessing. It is at the end of the day. And once I started to look at it like that, like I have an amazing body that tells me when something is wrong instead of accepting the toxins. That completely changed everything for me too. So now I look at these spots or I feel my joint and I just say thank you sometimes, and or I'm thinking it's beautiful and I know psoriasis is unsightly, but I just am grateful for these warning signs and these red spots and anything chronic. I don't want to say like the terminal stuff because that's a different
Yeah.
category that I can't speak to, but like chronic illness, you are given parameters to work with for a reason. And now we get to come here and talk about it and share and hopefully help. So I just wanted to leave
Oh,
you with, it's
Samantha,
just amazing, so I don't know. I
I just
love having autoimmune disease.
I can't thank you enough for putting that perspective at the end of this, because that is just powerful, and it is the way to wrap up the most beautiful share. It means a lot that you've spent your time, your energy, your expertise, your journey so vulnerable, and thank you so much for coming and being here with us. And we love you, and we're so glad Gina brought you into the family.
Yes, I'm never leaving.
Everybody's just wanting to tell you so much how much they appreciate it. Gratitude,
Thank you.
yes, just amazing. And we will definitely be looking for this to be posted in our education groups
Awesome.
to continue the conversation, right?
Yeah. I'm always here. I'm an open book now. And once I started to share, I can't stop. So I'm here. Any questions? I'm here.
Well, we love it, and we love you. Thank you so much. And I'll be getting those graphics into the education groups as soon as Samantha, you and I will collaborate about that. All
Yeah, that
right.
would be fun to come up with a whole little guide list for people. That would be
Yes,
great.
let's
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining. Have a blessed night.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.